Nature isn't just beautiful, it's a battlefield. While you're looking out for bears or wolves, the real silent killers are right beneath your feet. Some can burn your skin to the bone, others can stop your heart in minutes. And one particular tree is so toxic that even standing under it during rain can be a fatal mistake. Today, we are diving into the darkest corners of the botanical world. Here are the top 5 most dangerous plants you should never touch. Watch until the end, because number 1 is literally a biological weapon. In the depths of the forest, there stands a plant that looks like a majestic, oversized wildflower, reaching heights of up to 15 feet. But don't let its grand appearance fool you. It is a biological trap. This is a botanical nightmare that weaponizes the very source of life on Earth, the sun. Its thick, hollow stems are filled with a clear, watery sap containing high concentrations of photosensitizing chemicals known as furanocoumarins. The horror of this plant lies in its delayed reaction. When the sap touches your skin, you won't feel a thing. No sting, no itch, no warning. However, the chemical begins a silent, microscopic process, stripping your skin of its natural ability to protect itself from ultraviolet radiation. The moment you step into the sunlight, a catastrophic reaction occurs. Within hours, your skin begins to erupt in massive, weeping blisters that look like severe chemical burns. The agony is intense and deep. Because the reaction occurs at a DNA level, the damage is lasting. Survivors are often left with dark, purple scars that can persist for years, and the affected skin may remain sensitive to light for a decade. Even worse, if the sap is transferred to your eyes, it causes a rapid breakdown of the corneal tissue, leading to permanent blindness. It is a silent predator that turns a sunny day into a life-altering disaster, proving that in nature, the most beautiful structures can be the most lethal. Deep in the rainforests of Australia, there's a shrub with large, heart-shaped leaves that look soft and inviting, almost velvety to the touch. But this is the gimpy, and it is widely considered the most painful plant in existence. Every square inch of its surface is covered in millions of microscopic, hollow needles made of silica. These needles act like hypodermic syringes, and the slightest brush against them inject a potent, stable neurotoxin called moroidin. The moment of contact is often described as feeling like being burnt by hot acid and electrocuted at the same time. This initial shock is only the beginning. Within minutes, the lymph nodes in your armpits or groin begin to swell and throb with unbearable pressure, feeling as though they are being slammed in a door. The toxin is so chemically stable that it resists the body's attempts to break it down. If the needles are not surgically removed from the skin, they can continue to release poison for months or even years. Victims have reported the agony returning in full force every time the affected area is touched or exposed to a change in temperature. The pain is so relentless and all-consuming that it has driven animals to leap off cliffs and has reportedly caused humans to seek the ultimate escape from the torture. Even standing near the plant without touching it is a risk. The tiny hairs constantly shed into the air, and if inhaled, they can trigger intense sneezing fits, nasal bleeding, and severe respiratory distress. It is a masterpiece of natural cruelty, designed to deliver a lifetime of suffering in a single second. In the manicured gardens of suburban neighborhoods and along the sun-drenched coasts of the Mediterranean, there grows a shrub of striking beauty known as the oleander. With its elegant, willow-like leaves and clusters of vibrant pink, white, or red blossoms, it is a favorite for landscaping across the globe. Yet, behind this graceful facade lies the heart of a professional assassin. Every single cell of this plant is saturated with cardiac glycosides, primarily a deadly compound called oleandrin. This toxin is so potent that even the honey made by bees that visit its flowers can become toxic, and the smoke from burning its branches is enough to poison anyone nearby. If a single leaf is ingested, the internal collapse begins almost immediately. The poison strikes the heart directly, disrupting the electrical signals that keep it beating in rhythm. At first, the victim experiences a terrifying blur of nausea and cold tremors. But as the heart struggles to function, the pulse slows to a crawl or begins to skip beats entirely. The nervous system then falters, leading to seizures, collapse, and a deep coma. There are historical accounts of soldiers using stripped oleander branches as skewers to cook meat over a fire, only to die shortly after their meal as the heat released the lethal sap into their food. It is a silent, ornamental killer that sits patiently in our backyards, waiting for one moment of human ignorance to deliver a fatal dose. Its beauty is not a gift. It is a warning that in the world of dark nature, the most attractive specimens are often the most heartless. Deep within the scrublands and waste areas of the world grows an ornamental plant with star-shaped leaves and spiked seed pods that look like alien artifacts. This is the castor bean plant, the source of one of the most lethal biological toxins known to man, ricin. While the plant is often grown for its oil, the seeds themselves are concentrated vessels of death. Ricin is a ribosome inactivating protein, which means it doesn't just poison you, it systematically dismantles your body's ability to function at a cellular level. If the seeds are chewed and swallowed, the toxin begins its work by entering the cells and physically shredding the machinery responsible for creating proteins. Without proteins, your cells cannot survive, and your organs begin to liquefy and fail one by one. There is no known antidote. The initial symptoms are deceptive, a slight fever and nausea, but within hours, the victim experiences internal hemorrhaging of the digestive system, followed by the total collapse of the liver, kidneys, and spleen. A dose the size of a few grains of table salt is enough to kill a grown man, making it significantly more potent than the venom of a cobra or even cyanide. It is a quiet, unassuming killer that has been studied by governments for use in chemical warfare, proving that the most terrifying weapons on Earth aren't made in a lab, but are grown in the dirt. Deep in the shadows of the forest floor lives the monkshood, a plant often called the queen of poisons. Its striking, deep purple flowers are shaped like the hoods of medieval monks. But this elegant appearance hides a neurotoxin so violent that it was once used to tip the spears of ancient warriors and hunt wolves. The primary killer here is aconitine, a poison that acts with surgical precision, targeting the heart and the nervous system simultaneously. The danger is so extreme that even wearing thin gloves might not save you. The toxin can be absorbed directly through the skin, causing instant numbness and tingling that crawls up your arms. If ingested, the reaction is swift and agonizing. It forces the heart into a chaotic, irregular rhythm before slowing it down to a final, permanent stop. As the heart fails, the respiratory system begins to paralyze, leaving the victim fully conscious but unable to breathe, trapped in a body that has simply forgotten how to stay alive. It is a plant that demands absolute respect, a silent executioner that proves nature doesn't need teeth or claws to be the most terrifying force on the planet. Deep within the damp, shaded woodlands of North America, there grows a plant known as water hemlock, often cited as the most violently toxic plant in the entire Northern Hemisphere. It belongs to the same family as carrots and parsnips, and its white, umbrella-shaped flowers look deceptively innocent, resembling common garden herbs. However, its roots contain a thick, yellow liquid saturated with cyclotoxin, a potent convulsant that attacks the central nervous system with terrifying speed. The horror of water hemlock is the violence of its onset. If even a small piece of the root is tasted, the toxin immediately begins to overstimulate the brain, triggering a series of massive, uncontrollable grand mal seizures. These convulsions are so powerful that they can cause the victim to break their own bones or bite through their tongue. As the brain is bombarded by electrical storms, the body loses all coordination. The heart rate fluctuates wildly, and the muscles responsible for breathing eventually lock up in a state of permanent contraction. Death usually follows within a few hours from total respiratory failure or exhaustion for the continuous seizures. There is no specific antidote, and because the plant so closely resembles edible wild species, it remains one of the most frequent causes of fatal botanical poisonings. It is a grim reminder that in the wild, the line between a life-sustaining meal and a gruesome death is often invisible to the untrained In the swampy marshlands of North America grows a plant that has turned the very concept of survival into a sophisticated form of hunting. This is the water hemlock, often called the most violently toxic plant on the continent. Its danger lies in its absolute camouflage. It looks like common garden celery or parsnips, and its white flowers appear innocent and fragile. However, hidden within its roots is cicutoxin, a massive neurotoxin that delivers a devastating blow to the central nervous system. Taking just one small bite of the root is enough to trigger a process of irreversible destruction. The toxin causes an immediate detonation of neurons in the brain, plunging the victim into a state of violent, uncontrollable convulsions. These seizures are so powerful that they can lead to muscle tears and even broken bones. In these moments, the body becomes a battlefield where the brain loses control over every cell. Death follows quickly, usually from respiratory failure or total exhaustion in the midst of the seizure. This plant leaves no time for rescue. It acts like a ruthless mechanical trap, reminding us that the most terrifying death in nature often hides behind the appearance of something mundane and familiar. Deep in the ancient woodlands of Europe and Asia, there grows a tree that has become a symbol of both immortality and the grave. This is the English yew. Unlike other trees that rot and die, the yew can live for thousands of years, often growing in the center of old cemeteries, where its roots are said to wrap around the bones of the dead. Almost every part of this tree, except for the fleshy red flesh of its berries, contains taxine alkaloids, a poison so lethal and fast-acting that it was once used by ancient tribes to commit collective suicide rather than face defeat in battle. The yew is a silent killer of the heart. If the needles or seeds are ingested, the toxins immediately begin to suppress the heart's electrical system. There are often no warning signs, no nausea, no pain, no struggle. Instead, the heart's rhythm simply begins to slow down, becoming more and more erratic until it stops completely. In many cases, the first and only symptom of yew poisoning is sudden collapse, followed by instant death. It is a biological off switch that operates with chilling efficiency. Even as it stands still and green in the middle of winter, the yew remains a grim guardian of the forest, a living monument to the thin, fragile line between life and eternal silence. In the remote, sun-scorched regions of the Middle East and Africa grows a plant that looks like a relic from a forgotten age, the desert rose. While its thick, bulbous trunk and stunning pink blossoms make it a prize for collectors, it hides a secret that has been used by tribal hunters for centuries to take down the largest prey on Earth. The sap of this plant is a concentrated slurry of cardiac glycosides, so powerful that it is still used today to coat the tips of poison arrows. The toxicity is so high that even a small scratch from a poison-tipped arrow can bring a full-grown elephant to its knees within minutes. The poison works by causing an agonizing and chaotic disruption of the heart's rhythm. Once it enters the bloodstream, it forces the cardiac muscles to contract violently and irregularly until the heart eventually seizes and stops. There is no struggle for survival against the desert rose. It is a chemical death sentence. In the wild, it stands as a beautiful but lethal sentinel, a reminder that in the harshest environments, nature creates the most efficient ways to kill. That concludes our journey into the darkest corners of the botanical world. If you've ever encountered one of these silent killers, tell us your story in the comments. But remember, in the wild, curiosity can be fatal. If you want to survive what's coming next, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and stay away from the shadows.